Well, thank you very much, everybody. It's great to see a huge turnout, and welcome all of our IAG members to our combined event, and obviously the ASEG members as well. So I hope that you all enjoy tonight's event. We are trialling webcasting of tonight's presentation, so at the end when we get to questions, we'll need you to wait until the microphone is given to you so that people listening in online can hear your questions and can hear the answers. So please just bear with us around that. And we're not projecting the audience at all, no, just the screen. So don't worry, you're not going to be broadcast around the world. But we do have people on, so welcome to anyone who's online. Am I being recorded right now?
Yep.
Cool. So welcome to anybody online. We've got people from
UK, South Africa, Canada, Chile, Australia.
So fantastic to have 40 odd people registered for our trial for online. And we had 100 people registered tonight. We've got about 80 here at the moment, so we expect a few more people might come in after we start the talk. So our talk tonight is on geophysics for magmatic nickel-copper exploration by Bill Peters. So Bill graduated with geology and physics from UWA in 1972. He has, over his 45-year career as a geophysicist, worked on projects in over 80 countries and visited over 60 of those. These projects have included precious metal, base metals, diamonds, oil, gas, mineral sands, rare earth, uranium and water. During the first 13 years of Bill's career, he worked for McFarlane Geophysics, Anglo American, De Beers, BHP Tech, DigiChem, in South Africa, Canada and Australia. I'm still refusing to wear my glasses. My ASG members would know that I'm standing firm on this. Anyway, so Bill is currently the director and consultant of Southern Geoscience Consultants, which he co-founded in 1985. Southern Geoscience Consultants has subsequently grown to be one of the largest mineral geophysics consultancy globally, and are also one of our very generous sponsors of our ASEG Tech Nights. So without any further delay, I'll hand over to Bill.
Thanks very much, Anthony. This talk was originally given in Adelaide last year, so some of the geophysicists may have seen it before, but I have fresh with them. So there's a fair bit of geologists. It's more or less a sort of compilation of a bit of everything. Nothing too technical in it, it's just a bit of everything for everybody. So we're going to discuss the current state of the art in geophysical acquisition, power resolution, you can read it there, physical properties. I'm not going to get this microphone. Physical properties of nickel copper sulfides, and also the host rock, which is important, and other complicated non-economic features which screw up our lives when we're looking for these geophysics. The key methods, their application, and some significant global examples. Last of all, regional targeting is a fairly new way of doing things to identify regional settings that contain the respective rocks, including concepts of lithospheric structural control and intracrustal magma chambers. Well, I've been around quite a while now, as you can see, and I've been involved with a number of nickel discoveries, all of them using the EM. The first of those was at Radio Hill in Pilbara in 1984. And what you see there on the right is the original Saraten survey and the original anomaly that led to the discovery of the Radio Hill nickel copper deposit. That was Australia's first scabbro-hosted deposit. Nickel copper sulfides have a very strong response to modern geophysical methods. And with this in mind, this is probably why I think that nickel copper extraction is arguably the most significant factor in the development of minerals geophysics technology altogether. Outcropping and near surface discoveries are now rarer. Our challenge has become to explore recovered areas, to look deeper, and more importantly, probably understand what we're seeing. Our new EM technology really is pushing us towards depths of 1,000 metres. I'd say 5 years ago, or probably 10 years ago, we were about 250 metres. Currently, it's around 500, I think we're heading towards 1,000 metres. So let's look at why geophysics works, what new technology we have, some nickel copper deposits, and targeting for new discoveries. I throw this one in early on, just as a bit of a teaser. The Nova Bollinger discovery was a remarkable thing because it's rejuvenated geophysical exploration for nickel copper here in Australia. It was a new Gabba-hosted nickel copper discovery in the Fraser Range, Western Australia, in 2012. And it's an entirely new nickel copper province. It's the first known nickel copper sulfides out there altogether. Australia has previously focused more on Komatiite nickel deposits. And this discovery generated an enormous amount of new exploration enthusiasm. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. Let's look at what's happened in instrumentation, platforms and software. In the old days, instrumentation was hand-built. It was made for individual components, custom designed, and it was expensive. Nowadays, it's made up of off-the-shelf PCs with high-speed AD converters and I/O ports. Intelligence, all intelligence is incorporated in software now, which means it can be readily updated and changed. A lot of systems now are incorporating GPS, or GPS is sort of standard, and some sort of Wi-Fi, Bluetooth connectivity. We're moving more to self-powered sensors, so we can have multiple sensors out. One receiving unit back at the base, and they're untethered, they don't need wires anymore because they have large onboard storage. Miniaturization of sensors now means we can look at using them in UAVs and in borehole probes in a way that wasn't practical before. There's a sexy new technology that you hear a lot about is the drones or unmanned aerial vehicles. These have the advantage that they're at lower cost, safer, arguably faster production. They do allow you to cover small areas, which are not practical with a big aircraft, and you can survey areas without any ground access issues. The current limitations are that they've got a very small payload in general. Aviation regulations generally mean you've got to stay in line of sight. They have a short range of duration, but this is starting to change. For us, it's 2 or 3 hours of range. They can be used practically right now for magnetics, VLF, and spectral work, visual imagery. Radiometrics to some extent, but the crystal volume you can carry will be quite small. They can't carry powerful EM transmitters, but they do carry a sensor, an EM sensor that you can use with a ground-based transmitter loop. They can also act as an airborne data link for distributed sensors on the ground, where you've got range. So shoot it up to this and shoot it back. Modeling, inversion, and 3D visualization. The conventional forward modeling software is still being enhanced, and it's still pretty fundamental and often the most accurate way to do things. But the most significant developments are in inversion of data, and this includes gravity, magnetic, energy data. This can be done in 1D, 2D, 3D, and also it's in joint inversions where you can invert, say, CSA and TEM data both at the same time. Visualization has changed. It's now expected that geophysical modelling and inversion results will be supplied and incorporated in 3D. 3D printing working models. I'm not sure where that's going, but you know, that's obviously a reality now if you want it. Let's move on to the technologies, and the first one is the one that is the most important to us for nickel-copper exploration, which is electromagnetics, or EM. It's by far the most widely used and the most successful geophysical method of nickel-copper discovery. The sulfide assemblage with nickel-copper deposits commonly includes pyrrhotite, chalcoborite, and hematite. But the key component, as far as we're concerned, not in an economic sense, is pyrrhotite, because it's extremely conductive. That is responsible for most of the conductivity of sulfides. Bad news is that there's plenty of barren pyrrhotite and graphite around. It's often highly conductive and has conductivity similar to nickel-copper sulfides. So that's often a complicating factor. Magmatite can be conductive if it's well connected, but this is rare, but you need to watch out for it. So the three nodes of doing EM is surface EM, which is detailed, powerful, has deep penetration, but is slow. Airborne EM, which is rapid, low cost, relatively low cost for coverage, but has less penetration and power. Downhole EM, which is very successful, allows you exploration to very large depths. What are the advances in EM in the last 10 years or so? Transmitter power is probably the big one. We used to be happy with 10 amps. We got 10 amps before we did well. To 100 meter by 100 meter loop. Nowadays, if it's anything less than 100 amps, it's considered, well, why are you doing that? So, transmitter power is up a lot. This gives us much increased depth of exploration and also improved in signal sensitivity and quality. The downside to that, which I might talk more about later, is you get stronger polarization effects. You get something called SPM, which is super paramagnetism, which I'll also describe later, and saturation effects, where the sensor is close to the loop. The sensors just simply cannot handle that power. The next thing that's changed in the last 5 years or so is recording full waveform data, also often called time series. EM data used to be given to you in channels, channel 1 to 32 or 1 to 20 or something like that. And these were arbitrary set windows where the data was being static because you couldn't store or handle it more. Well, now the power and the storage is around, we can actually keep every single bit of information recorded. This enables us to do a good analysis of signal and noise, extract noise, reject noise, spikes, all this sort of thing, the filtering. We can look at the primary pulse closely and see what it really looks like instead of what we thought it might look like. We can make our own selection of windows if we want to bin this data to suit the task at hand. Also can possibly allow extraction of other parameters. Autonomous sensors, I've mentioned these before, but there's things like Volterra, SJ in Canada, where you put up multiple sensors, and they have their own communication capability, own data storage, long battery life. These give you enormous flexibility in terms of survey design. You're not confined to a grid, you can put somewhere you can get them, all this sort of thing. You don't need wires to get them. Simultaneous transmitters and loops. This time series recording allows you to look at it and decompile data from two loops simultaneously. Thanks, geologists. Later on. High conductance targets. Well, that's what nickel-copper sulfides are. Extreme conductance and massive sulfides. Traditionally, we've used coil sensors which measure the derivative of a magnetic field, what we call the VDT, derivative of the magnetic field. And if you look at this graph on the right, you'll see that this is for a strong conductor. This is the V field response. I'm sorry, I can't turn around because I've got to stay close to this microphone. But it's a strong B field response, which means there is a strong magnetic field coming from a secondary field coming from this very strong conductor. But when you take the derivative of something that's got a very slow decay, it's actually a very weak slope because it's changing slowly, slow. So it's a poor signal into a coil. So now we need B field or on-time measurements to overcome this problem. The on-time measurement means you're actually measuring the secondary signal in the presence of the primary field, and that requires accurate calculation of the primary field. And that's okay for fixers, where you know exactly where your transmitter wires are all surveyed. But it's not practical for moving sling wrap surveys. So these days we're tending to use B field sensors, which are mainly flux gate sensors and high temperature or low temperature squid sensors. We measure the magnetic field directly. The issues with higher power and low sensor height in terms of the airborne EM. We've got the superparamagnetism, which is due to very near surface ferromagnetic material, which results in these low amplitude, late time decay anomalies, very similar to deep bedrock conductor responses. See this one here? That's a genuine bedrock response there. That's the SDM response there. You can't tell the difference. And we've wasted an awful lot of money chasing these things up. IPFX or polarization we now recognise is in the EM, and they cause negative decays, which is most notable in resistive environments. Saturation, as I mentioned, is a problem for these sensors when they're close to these powerful loops, so it means that you often have to miss stations which are close to the loops. Overfield EM is largely the domain of a company called Geophysics. They use a specialised, very rapidly sampling, very sensitive magnetometer sensor. What they're most well known for is their SAM surveys, which some of you would know about. In the sensor mode, which they use in the inverted fixed loop modes, they use low frequencies, which means they measure over very long delay times, long stacking, they get very low noise and deep penetration. SAM EM, they use a large fixed loop, and they use a water magnetometer, as you see in the top right picture. You get higher frequency data, less stacking, so it's very much noisier because they're walking. You cannot collect low frequency data without standing still. It's noisier, but the very high data density allows you to use a spatial filtering and get quite a good result out of it. And HeliSAM is they lay out a large fixed loop by a helicopter, and they tow a sensor across along the lines. This gives you very rapid acquisition and deep penetration. The downside to all this is that you get total field only. You can derive the derivatives and cross components, but it is derived. In the helicopter mode, obviously there's no late times because you're moving. There's a large heavy transmitter loop. With any fixed loop survey, there are no coupling zones, which might be much, but there's areas where you don't get any energization for particular depths. There is a planned UAV version that could fly slower at lower frequencies in the pipeline, I understand. Airborne EM. Well, I guess the developments are similar to on the ground. We're getting more power and more power. Higher dipole moments, up to 2 million NIA. And multiple components, B field, time series recording, all of the same things. Fast shut-off times, improved waveform control, and more accurate, which gives you more accurate conversions. In the fixed loop mode, we've got, this is the domain 3 or 4 there, Geotem, Tempest, Megatem, I think has been scrapped, which is that big aircraft at the top right, and Spectrum. They are large scale methods. The tow bird, you get an asymmetric signal, which means you get a different response going in different directions over a given body. Usually cheaper than helicopters and lower resolution, but you get quite a lot of power in the ground and rapid coverage. Helicopter EM has really been the focus of most recent developments. And the advantages of those are omnidirectional coupling, because it's a loop, a circular loop, it's energized in all directions. There's no bias. Low sensor height, of course, slow flying, and you can fly short lines in the fixed wing planes. The fixed wing planes generally want about 10 kilometres, whereas a helicopter you will often do 3. So airborne EM versus ground EM. Despite the rapid coverage and apparently attractiveness of airborne EM, the easy logistics, it just doesn't compare to ground surveys in the end. The dipole moments are over 100 times larger on the ground, the power that you're putting into it. And airborne EM also has only relatively high transmitter frequencies with moving platforms, so it's really only good out to about 10 milliseconds. Although, people are now talking about 12.5 Hz systems, and ones that will go out a bit further. Downhole EM, well, this has been the exceptional method for nickel copper integration at depth and undercover, and it's been applied to depths of over 3,000 metres or more. There's the typical layout there shown on the top right and an operator there. But surface EM suffers from the attenuation of the secondary signal from the conductor at depth, which is absorbed by the conductive cover in the host rocks. So the signal you get back is very weak compared to what it is down deep. So we're down by EM, we've got to sit so close to the target, and that attenuation is minimised. That's why it works at those depths. Down by EM, as with surface EM, you can just do step response or field measurements for high conductors targets. And the current advances are using the power and data storage in the probe itself, so you don't have to connect down the wire, and optical cables if you do want to connect down the wire. One thing that is often very useful is down-dip drilling of prospective contacts, particularly Komatiite exploration where you've got where the basal contact is, or you know you think you do. Just ignore the geologists who want to drill across it. Drill right down, it's right parallel to it, and you can survey conductors all the way down. Modelling transformers and inversion. The forward and inverse plate modelling is quite accurate. People are developing algorithms to do curved surfaces. Transforms, which transforms those profiles into those pretty coloured sections there. The bottom section there, inflow CDI, is what we call a transform. It's a direct calculation. They're fast. 1D and 2D layer inversions, it's got a number of options there. They're simply more accurate than transforms. Now we're getting 3D inversions, which are slow but improving, where you can put a whole EM survey into the system and produce 3D models of conductors. IP, or reduced polarization. This is for disseminated sulfides. Disseminated sulfides will be highly chargeable, but they need not necessarily be conductive. Not neat. Grains don't touch each other, then there's no reason why they would be conductive. So there are situations where you leave your EM behind and you can go to your IP. IP, once again, we're getting much higher power. The picture on the right shows the ultimate in power transmitters, but I'm not sure you get up to too many hills. As before, untethered multiple sensors give us new flexibility. We can design complex 3D arrays, enable us to produce 3D inversions. We incorporate topography into any sort of design. So the days of looking at the pseudo sections is diminishing, although as Kim was pointing out to me, you've always got to look at the pseudo sections. But careful with interpretation of these inversions. Many of you will be to look at these inversions and see the big red blobs at great depth. They're probably not real. You need to use sensitivity masking, which you can get out of this processing, to show where the reality cutoff is. as with other things, we've got time series, which enables us to do good quality control and noise filtering, telluric encapsulation, which can move the spikes, lightning, all sorts of things. We may be able to get A and T data as well out of it if we've got the time series. As for EM, we've got the same old problem that semi-magnetite can give you a pretty highly chargeable response. Certainly we've encountered that before. Magnetics, pretty fundamental method. Pyrrhotite is highly magnetic, and that's what you get with different copper sulfides. Watch out for remnants issues, it's quite common in pyrrhotite. And you also get hexagonal pyrrhotite in some deposits, which is non-magnetic, paradoxically. Direct detection of nickel copper sulfides with magnetics is, in my experience, rare. It's just not simply enough volume. The host rocks that are around it. Host ultramafic and mafic rocks are usually magnetic, but that depends on their metamorphic state. Submineralization increases the magnetic response, state alteration decreases it. Magnetics is a very cheap and cost-effective method for mapping the regional tone. New developments, I guess, are tensor systems, which instead of just measuring the total field, they measure the vectors and the changes along these vectors. I must admit, I haven't worked with any of that data, and I'm just not entirely sure how useful it will be. UAV acquisition. There's new miniature sensors, magnetic sensors in the pipeline. One of these is a little more than a matchbox size and uses 2 watts of power. So that will actually revolutionise the use of those sorts of UAVs. The payload problem will go away. Downhole magnetics. This is something which I don't believe is used anywhere near enough. Any downhole survey you do, you can actually collect downhole magnetics with it. If you're doing downhole EM, for instance, and look at the data. But it's probably better if you have a dedicated survey where you record the three-component magnetics in more detail. But this gives you some means very often to do discrimination between graphite and sulfide conductors, should you've got the pyrrhotite. Modeling, inversion, and visualization, well, we sort of touched on that, but 3D inversion, I guess, is now pretty much mainstream, particularly for magnetics and gravity. It's sort of coming, and also IP. It's coming for EM, or it's available, it's so expensive. Software has been developed to do the inversion incorporated in remnants, what they call the MBI product offered by Geosoft. Full tensor inversion, that's a bit hardcore for me. Interpreting is the important bit and the hard bit. Many of these inversions are pretty blurry and diffuse, and the bodies that are actually causing these things are probably not that way. So you just got to sort of look at these things carefully and think, what's real and what's not. Gravity. Well, nickel copper sulfides are dense, 4.5 to 4.8. But direct detection again would require a very large volume and shallow depth. So, in general, gravity is not a viable thing for direct detection of sulfides. But it's obviously a project scale, it's a method for making favourable against host rocks and internal structure. When you get to the regional scale, it's a very regional scale. There's something to map photonic margins and sutures and possible magma chambers and all that stuff. Airborne gravity is, there's a difference between airborne gravity and airborne gravity gradiometry. A lot of people don't seem to realise that. You probably should realise that you see the price difference. Airborne gravity has low spatial resolution. Along the lines of about 3 kilometres, so 3 kilometres wide. It's best suited to large scale visual work like sheets or something like that. Airborne gravity gradiometry is a much higher spatial resolution, depending on if you use a helicopter or an airship. will give you resolution down to a couple hundred metres. New systems are appearing all the time, and they seem to take an inordinate amount of time in the country. When they're announced to them are actually usable. But luckily, a new one. We now have 4 tenths of radiometry and so on, and Rio's building their VK1 still. Downhole gravity can identify dense sulfides close to a drill hole. That way, discriminate graphicity and conductors from sulfide conductors. But it's slow, expensive, and I think it can only be done in fairly wide diameter holes. Seismics. The massive sulfides have generally got low velocities and high density. And the acoustic impedance, which is what we're interested in seismics, is a product of velocity and density. So you can see it's a sort of like that message up out, it's not good. But if you get an acoustic impedance contrast, you've got a seismic reflector. High size will tell you that it works wonderfully. And that picture on the right is one of these from Cambalda, and they've circled known little ore bodies and indicated new seismic targets. I have no idea how they worked out. But the use is accelerating. 3D surveys are becoming a standard now. Mapping structure and possibly detection of sulfides. You can use core measurements of refraction to get accurate velocity models, which correct the data to the right depths and all that sort of thing. People are incorporating the amplitude preservation, so just to preserve the amplitudes will recognise these seismic targets. I find the data is often patchy and interpretation not easy. Usually the companies will present you with an interpreter section and a raw section, and I look at the two and think, how can I get that? But in some cases it works really well. Cross-hole seismics, where you put a seismic source down one hole and the geophones down another, vice versa, shoot between the holes, and that can be quite good at outlining low velocity sulfides. On the regional scale, deep reflective seismics is obviously fundamental. We're making deep structures, crustal thicknesses, prospective mantle tapping zones, and all those things. The new word is passive seismics. It's quite rapid advances in that. It's relatively cheap. But if you want to look deep, it's slow and hard. It's used in 2 modes, more or less. The one that most people are familiar with is just taking the thickness of cover in player lakes and things. But for deep work, it is still quite an intensive thing. Magnetotellurics, or MT, this uses local lightning strikes as the power source. And, it measures these natural magnetic electric fields. And, a typical layout is shown in that top right. Layout 3-component, 2-component, at least, or ideally 3-component magnetometers and 2-component electrical dipoles. Measure the electric field and magnetic field in these different directions. By ratio, you can work out the stick. Layers, different frequencies, you remember various frequencies, and the lower frequencies give you deeper penetration. AMT is a subset, which just uses the higher audio frequencies. That's the one in our prospect level most commonly see. Different depths down about a couple of kilometres, it's faster. Whereas a true MT needs to see for days until to get down to the crustal levels. CSAMT does away with the lightning strikes, those two, but they come off enough, and so you put an active source at different frequencies, some distance away from where you're working. EM is superior to MT at shallow depths by a long way. But on a regional scale, there's nothing that compares in terms of getting electrically to MT to the deep subsurface structure. MT, the Z10. The Z10 is a variety of magnetotellurics. It's usually flown by helicopter, or maybe a fixed wing version by the flying. I don't see pictures of it. But helicopter is the one I've used and I'm familiar with. And You see that picture in the centre there, it's a big donut carried underneath the chopper. It measures the vertical magnetic field, just in that frequency range there, 30 to 720 Hz. Rapid coverage and quite deep penetration, arguably to 400 meters or so. The drawback is, of course, there's no electric field measurement for obvious reasons. Dipoles on the ground. There's no low frequency, so it can't get very deep. Because there's no electric field, there is no absolute residual conductivity information or relative. It's difficult to distinguish between contacts and confined conductors and non-speakers. That example there shows three sort of nice sausage-type bodies of the DISCO project in Greenland, which is based on a reversal model. I've just come back from there last week. That's our field crew freezing their proverbials off there. We're doing high-powered EM there just to see what's happening there. The main Ni-Cu-PGE deposit types, I guess, can be broken down into these five. There's the Komatiites, such as we see in Yilgarn, and we'll talk about these on the slides. The impact crater, Sudbury type, the Norilsk-Talnakh basalts, intrusive types, which include Voisey's Bay, Thompson, and Nova, and the Bushveld style with the big Igneous complexes. Well, our Yilgarn Komatiites are along about a 600 kilometre belt on what people sort of think is a paleo craton margin. The deposits are claimed to be channels at the base of ultramafic flows. They generally don't contain anything copper. Basically, it's an ultramafic source rather than downward. So some notable surface EM discoveries are Cosmos, Waterloo, Amaranth, Sinclair, Unmanned, AK's North. Downhole EM deep discoveries are Flying Fox, Cosmos Deeps. They can have very small or negligible EM footprints or responses. Cosmos was a very high-grade mine, but had a very small EM footprint. Basically seen on one line. Surface one, it was not detectable EM because of its vertical pipe-like cylinder geometry and conductive cover. Small cylindrical pipe-like things have just got no surface area that can be energized with the EM transmitted field. Magnetics in the Yilgarn are wonderful things because you can delineate the host rocks, but rarely, as I mentioned before, any mineralization response. There's a couple of case histories of these types of bodies here. Early one that I was involved with. It's a typical Komatiite deposit discovered on the surface in EM. See the profile on the right. It's a very easy, obvious anomaly. It's a 200 metres depth, quite a shallow dip in resistive felsic rocks, which is why it is such a good target. The interesting thing about NEN, I guess, is it was structurally remobilised several hundred metres from the ultramafic contact, so it was absolutely not what we expected it to be. Out in the first of the volcanoes. So that was a lesson for us. The magnetic anomalies you see there are mainly from the ultramatics and the November 9. There's no anomaly at all over NEN itself. Most EM anomalies in this area due to sulfuric sediments. That's commonly the case in the Campbell map fisheries, the rock resources discovery, is one that we can honestly attribute greatly to Airborne EM. For the VTEM survey there in 2011, primarily for gold exploration. There are these targets out near these ultramafics, surface and down EM. Surveys led to discovering the additional deposits of Muscat and Cannonball. There is no second magnetic anomaly over the deposits themselves. The VTEM results are there. You can see the profile on the right. Very clear anomaly showing the east dip. The fixed loop and inverted data all work wonderfully well. Down on the ends are very effective for deep delineation. Most of the other conductors, you know, as I mentioned, for other areas, they are in sulfides. Also come to the numbers again. Well, let's move to the impact style, and you know, the key maybe only example I don't know is the Sudbury, Canada. So the Sudbury intrusive complex is on the southeast margin of the Superior crater. It's a very large structure, about 60 k's by 30. It's been mined since the late 1800s. It's one of the world's large deposits. It's many small deposits. Modern deposits around that Norilsk Talnakh football contact just in there. But combined, they actually have about 1.6 billion tonnes, so 1.2 million copper. There's been a vast amount of geophysical data collected at Sudbury in the last 70 years. It's been a really testing ground and inspiration for an enormous amount of geophysical development since the 1940s. And Canada pretty much was where a lot of EM technology started. And on the bottom left there, you see an early 1947 EM system, Airborne EM, and in the middle there you see the magnetic side of Sudbury, and it defines the basin well and shows location and internal structure. Gravity on the right shows deeper information. And the basin architecture in Sudbury is pretty well known now from seismic surveys through the inversion modelling for gravity and magnetic data. EM and IP at Sudbury was surface EM just to mention now because they're pretty well surveyed everywhere. They've got pretty much complete coverage of the football contact. And now downhole EM is the most dominant method, and holes are up to about 3,000 metres deep. The modelling there is involved with several plate modelings with facet and wind. They do conduct a discrimination apparently on the basis of conductance. They must be reasonably confident that their nickel copper sulfides are truly great conductors. Bottom right there you see a sample of cross-hole radar imaging. You get absorption of radar signals by massive sulfides, so if you shoot from one hole to another, you get these dead zones which are kind of red there. Reflection seismics is probably an awful lot more done as something than what I could find in the literature, but it commenced in the 1990s. It certainly detected the football contact. You can see in a couple of those slides, and some internal layering. It's not particularly wonderful data there, but top right. They say that they can see massive sulfides at 1800 metres via a scattering response in that bottom right slide. Well, maybe. Norilsk-Talnakh in Russia. This is the classic flood basalt style deposit. It's been known since the 1600s. It's on the northwest margin of the Siberian crater. It's the world's largest nickel copper deposit. Combined deposits are 1.3 gigatons, 1.8% nickel and 3.6% copper. That's pretty amazing. Geology or cross section is shown there on the top right. The mineralisation is at the base of flat-lying dolomite gabbro sills. And immediately above that, we've got a set of sediment formations, and right at the top there, we've got more basalts, Siberian trap basalts. The information in terms of geophysics here is sparse, and in the English search showing my Russian is not great. They've done magnetic, gravity, and seismic surveys to map deep structure and signatures for the origin of mineralisation. And this is a fairly ambitious attempt you see there on the right. So on the left, you've got the magnetics as measured. And they've removed the response from the overlying basalts to try and see what's underneath there. And they claim that the filtered result shows the postulated magma chamber at depth. So the red there. They are doing modern largely EM, AMT and IP surveys, but those sediments I referred to earlier are a significant problem overlying things. They're quite conductive, and surfacing is a problem in most situations. So downhauling, once again, comes to the fore to depths of excess of 1,800 metres. Voisey's Bay in Canada is my first example of an intrusive style deposit. I'm sure everybody here has heard of it. It was discovered, an unexpected discovery in outcrop in 1994 in Labrador. As for the Nova discovery, this was a new province, a high significant deposit to a new province. It created exactly the same amount of exploration activity. 140 million tonnes, 1.6% nickel, hosted by troctolite dikes, thought to be feeders to the intrusion. There's been very extensive geophysical surveys done over this, as you can imagine. It's a sort of a test site for all sorts of things. There's good publications there by Belch and King. A cross-section, almost a long section shown at the bottom right there, and there's a sort of pictorial representation at the top. The first discoveries were over there in the west, and they gradually moved to the east to find the overwood and eastern deeps. After they came to Boston, in the initial mineralisation in the east, they used uranium, max min. That traced that mineralisation east undercover led to the discovery of the overwood. So see that picture in the centre there. Extreme conductance of the massive sulphides diminishes the response of the conventional BDT EM earlier on. Associated semi-massive and semi-sulphides are detected by BDT EM, IP, and AMT. Profiles over the overwood there. It's pretty easily detected by most things. Wonderful discovery. And this is the magnetics. And there's plenty of ground in airborne surveys. There's no strong correlation of the magnetics with the mineralisation at all. And, the reason for this is that the sulphides are mainly the non-magnetic hexagonal pyrite variety. Most troglodytes and gabbros are only weakly magnetic, and they're actually magnetic lows in this picture you see here. Most of the magnetic responses here are due to various niceties. Gravity was Bay. The overwood deposits and the main intrusives show quite well, as you can see in this central slide. The overwood's on the far left there. Gravity response is dominated by the host troglodytes. The overwood itself, top right there was the response. It's a very well-defined forwarding anomaly. And the 3D version of it at the bottom right works very well. Thompson in Canada and another intrusive style deposit was discovered in 1956. It's the margin of the Trans-Hudson origin in the Archean Superior Plains in Manitoba. 150 million tonnes at 2.3% nickel. There's multiple deposits along 150 metres of strike length. The host of the mineralisation are pyrrhotite lenses within sulphitic metapearlites. I'm sure you can see the problem there. There's virtually no outcrop, and the exploration is largely been driven by geophysics. Thompson paradox that was discovered were the very early airborne EMs that combined the EM and magnetic anomaly due to the massive pyrrhotite content. You can see the discovery profiles at the top right there. Exploration depth at depth these days is based primarily on AMT and fixed loop EM and downhole EM. AMT 2D and 3D inversions are used to map conductive metapearlite stratigraphy, which is the darker horizon that contains the pyrrhotite lenses, in 3D to at least 2,000 metres depth. Favourable targets from the AMT, I'm not sure how they know they're favourable, but they're correlated with the magnetics and geology to prioritise them. At shallow depths, they use powerful EM, down to about 700 metres to test these targets. Deeper targets are tested with downhole EM. They've done seismic there, and they combine the seismic with AMT, as you see in the bottom left slide, to map the geology in 3D. Cross-hole seismic is also used to map low-velocity sandstream boreholes. You see in that top right there. The last of the intrusive style deposits is our homegrown variety at Nova Bollinger. I'm sure most of you have seen that section on the right. It's a major Gabbro-hosted nickel-copper discovery in 2012 in the Fraser Range. New nickel-copper province, very similar to the Voisey's Bay discovery. 14.3 million tonnes, 2.3% nickel, 0.9 copper. It's hosted in a highly metamorphosed Gabbro silt, which is intruded into an extensional sedimentary basin. Now, it's metamorphosed now, so we put about mices. Just note in that slide that little on the left, the sulphide little on the left that pokes up to the shallower than the rest. That's pretty important because that's why it was discovered. The initial exploration was based on this single anomalous nickel copper soil anomaly, or nickel anomaly actually, in the GSWA database, 71 ppm. The length of an eye-like magnetic feature. Initial thoughts was that the eye was a Gabbro intrusive plug, but now that's just thought to be a double fold structure in the host mices. Host Gabbro silt itself is only weak and magnetic at best. Surface EM survey detected 3 conductors around the margin of the eye. Drilling that main anomaly with the big one you see there led to the discovery of Nova. This area, common to a lot of the Fraser Range, has got a lot of highly saline groundwater, which payload channels that if you happen to be over one of those, it's very hard to do EM over it. At Nova, they've tried sample field, total field EM and AMT surveys, but so far, to my knowledge, all other conductors have turned out to be mainly barren sulfides or graphite. Gravity in the Nova, we've got the regional gravity there. It's located on a very prominent regional gravity high. On the right, we've got detailed gravity, which shows a dense body now northeast and down dip from Nova. This was drilled, and that was resulted in the discovery of the Bollinger deposit. So this is one case where gravity worked. Bushveld style deposits are really a crossover of intrusive style, just on a larger scale. This is the larger layered igneous complexes. There's plenty of examples of these. Bushveld itself, the Duluth, Stillwater, Money here in Western Australia, Basalt and the Great Dyke in Zimbabwe. There's 2 main mineralization types in these. You have the layered, low-grade, PGE dominant sub-horizontal disseminated layers. There's a smaller basal and margin massive sulfide deposits. Obviously, the top example is the South African Bushveld Igneous complex itself, which is incredibly large, at 65,000 square kilometres, 350 kilometres across. The primary structural mapping tools here are regional gravity, magnetics, and seismics, which do a good job of delineating structure and layering. You see the magnetic outline of the Bushveld there in the centre image, to some extent the gravity image on the right. The Platte Reef UG2 and Rescue Reef units are the most important mineralised horizons in the Bushveld. Rescue Reef and UG2 are geophysically transparent and too thin, low sulfide and magnetite content. But the conformal horizons often, other market horizons often allow indirect mapping with seismic gravity and magnetics. Platte Reef is a bit different because they can be detected by Peters fitness of the high disseminated sulfide content. More recently, inversion modelling of gravity and magnetic data that's used to predict deep extensions with considerable success. The Bushveld satellite bodies, some of these contain small masses of disseminated copper nickel sulfide deposits, and then reflection seismics. I think South Africa really was the place where reflection seismics was applied most successfully, where most research as we've done in terms of seismics for no problem exploration. This is both for the Igneous gold and also for the platinum PGE exploration. It's a great, they benefit from the sub-horizontal nature of the layering. And you can see there's a great deal of information seen in the seismic. There's an awful lot of 3D seismic done there these days. They're pretty well pioneers in this field. This is a typical Bushveld satellite deposit, the Igneous complex. Like a small one, 12 kilometres away, 50 metres. It's a typical assemblage with the cobalt, cobalt, PGEs. If you CSANT down on AMR, down on AMR, which is successful for varying degrees. At last, we've got regional targeting in the big picture theory. Deposit locations are said to be related to the architecture of the subcontinental lithosphere in the airport. At the crustal level, they're close to craton and paleocraton margins. As you can see here in the China and Superior craton examples, red dots of deposits, a pretty well flanked margins. First, major lithospheric sutures and faults provide dilational settings for magma intrusion into the crust. The hypothesis is that here they form mid-crustal staging magma chambers. Next, there's intrusion of magma from these staging chambers into weaknesses in the upper crust through dilational settings, faults, fault noses, etc. Structurally active mobile base belts are favourable situations. And there's commonly a cluster of these intrusions, like sills and dikes forming a province or a camp. Something notice these intrusions can be a considerable distance displaced from the underlying magma chamber, or sutures, and thus incurring very unlikely host rocks, so ices and so on. Picture on the right, this is the very situation of the Norilsk-Talnakh. The regional geophysical targeting methods, just after magnetics, gravity, seismic, and motif. The magnetics and gravity are the key data sets because they're cheap and commonly available. Seismics and MT data are rarer, costly, and usually sparse. So at the very large scale, which is the grey there down at the mantle, we're looking for to locate major cratonic margins and intercratonic sutures. At the intermediate scale, mid-crustal level, we're trying to find evidence for magma chambers and feeder systems. And at the local scale, this is what we see at the top. We're trying to find plugs, dikes, or sill intrusions into dilation settings. Fraser range is incorporated node is a regional targeting success is sought. Following the Boise Bay discovery in 1996, Mark Creasy decided to look for similar settings in WA. And the study identified Fraser Range as a major crustal suture margin with prominent gravity anomalies and no ultramafic rocks. Gravity and magnetic data were compiled, and this was followed by a Geotem Airborne EM survey, which we looked at, about 30 kilometres southwest of Nova. There's a lot of graphite found, but no nickel copper sulfides. The key tenements were joint ventures to Sirius, 2012. Sirius saw similarities to the Canadian Thompson array settings, as you can see in that bottom left, on the margin to the Superior craton. Major suture craton boundary, as you can see in both the magnetic data there in the middle and the gravity data on the right. Sirius specific targets from the government geochemical data and the aeromagnetic data. Identifying intrusions from magnetics. Not always easy, but in this situation it works pretty well. As I said, the image, the eye target of Nova, before there was an intrusion, but maybe it's not. In this case, on this project on the right, we could identify these sort of low magnetic low zones within the surrounding magnetic Marsic blocks. In that particular case on the right, you can see it's also a dilation of jog setting. That has been verified as a gateway intrusion. This is just throwing it out there. This is not, I'm not the first to talk about this, but southeast of Nova, there's this sudden diffuse gravity anomaly indicating a deep source. If you look at the magnetics on the right, you'll see that there's no obvious direct correlation with the shallow magnetic blocks, so that density anomaly is not due to just the surface magnetic blocks. So this is evidence for a possible deep magnet chamber. If you look at the Seismics and the MT across Fraser Range, interpretation shows predominantly easterly dipping structures. This is the case. These are consistent with that magnet chamber being the central source of Nova. The regional MT at the bottom is not so clear, but it perhaps continues to 30 kilometres depth or so. So what are the conclusions? Well, the very obvious is that geophysics is ideal for searching for nickel copper sulfides. It's very successful, it dominates the discoveries. You should use rock property measurements for planning and modelling. There are some unexpected scenarios. Instrumentation is getting faster, better, it endorses complex things and better logistics. Time series recording now, which allows us to do fancier things. Software is better and faster, we're getting inversions, which are giving us a 3D capability, 3D visualization, and integrating drill holes and all sorts of things. Increased power is giving us better depth penetration sensitivity, but some issues come with that. EM is dominant and the first choice in nickel copper exploration. Ground EM is superior to airborne EM. Magnetics and gravity are fundamental for mapping and structure, but rarely usable for direct detection. Seismic and MT at prospect scale, increasingly used for deeper depths, especially for methodological and structural mapping. Maybe direct detection, but I haven't seen it. Porthole magnetics is underutilised, should be doing that. Time series recording could allow us to extract all sorts of parameters from one measurement. Regional targeting, magnetics, gravity, seismic MT, identify legislative margins, angle chambers, and favour of the near surface structure for intrusion. At the end of the day, all this fancy technology and software still depends on the skills of the user. Interpretation can be the weakest thing. We usually only ever have very incomplete information. In fact, we always have very information. There's always ambiguity. Certainly, but the new discoveries are certainly going to depend greatly on geophysics. A thorough understanding of geology, mineralising systems, and the physical properties of the target and the host are essential. Finally, the implications of a large increase in depth capability of real EM technology. It's the vast area surveyed over the past 40 years. It's the perspective from the estimation. Acknowledge those people there. Thank you very much.
Do you have any? Thank you very much, Bill. Do you have any questions, Bill?
Yeah, Bill, I was reading the slides and talking about different response for verifying versus chart. So the difference really that much.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Oh, sorry, yes. Peritime is far more conductive than chalcopyrite. But the chalcopyrite is still really conductive. Yeah.
My question is
Perfect exploration, we actually rarely see massive chalcopyrite.
no, because the response
Oh, the chargeable response. No, the chargeability is a different thing. The Komatiite. So in terms of chargeability, there wouldn't be much difference between peritime and chalcopyrite. Sorry.
Any other questions?
Hi, Bill, great talk. Only, where do you think the next major improvements are going to come from? Are they going to be in hardware? Are they going to be inversion techniques or some combination?
I don't think it's necessarily hardware, Steve. I think we're doing pretty well on that side. I think inversions will improve, but I think what's always needed is constraints for these inversions, which can be physical property measurements or information from drilling. But as always, we always have incomplete information, but inversions with constraints and understanding what it's showing, I think, is what is important and still coming.
Any questions? Well, thank you very much, Bill. And I just want to thank the ASEG Technique sponsors, Claritas, First Quantum, Geosoft, GPX Surveys, Southern Geoscience Consultants, Western G-Code, Resource Potentials, Atlas, CGG, Explore Geo, and welcome our newest sponsors for this year, High Size, NRG, NGI, and Tech. Without their sponsorship, we wouldn't be able to offer these techniques as frequently as we do and at no cost to members. So thank you to the sponsors. Also, I just want to hand over to Richard, who has a few words to say on behalf of AIG.